Nestled in the lush embrace of the Himalayas, Pahalgam has long been a symbol of Kashmir's breathtaking serenity, a haven for trekkers, pilgrims and tourists. But on 22nd of April 2025, that calm was no more. Heavily armed terrorists opened fire on tourists in Baisaran Valley in Pahalgam, killing 26 people and injuring over 20 and leaving the nation in shock. The attack bore the signature of cross-border terror outfits, once again exposing the fragile fault lines of peace in the region. India mourned, but then India responded. In the early hours of May the 7th, India launched Operation Sindoor, a calibrated and covert strike targeting 9 terror hubs deep inside Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Precision missile attacks dismantled key Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed facilities, including camps in Bhavalpur and Muridke. The message was unambiguous. India will not allow terrorism to bleed its people without consequence. From the idyllic valleys of Pahalgam to the corridors of global diplomacy, Operation Sindoor marked a new chapter, where grief transformed into resolve and silence into strategic action. The world is watching closely as tensions have escalated between two nuclear-armed neighbors. As global leaders called for restraint, many acknowledged India's right to defend its sovereignty. The White House called the response measured, while France and Australia stood by India's commitment to counter terrorism. Let's take a deep dive into what they said. US expressed concerns over the rising tensions. President Donald Trump called for a swift resolution.
Oh, it's so terrible. My position is I get along with both. I know both very well, and I want to see them work it out. I want to see them stop. And hopefully they can stop now. They've gone tit for tat, so hopefully they can stop now. But I know both. We get along with both countries very well, good relationships with both, and I want to see it stop. And if I can do anything to help, I will be there.
Now, on to the terrorist attacks in Pahalgam. As President Trump and Secretary Rubio have made clear, the United States stands with India, strongly condemns all acts of terrorism. We pray for the lives of those lost and for the recovery of the injured, and call for the perpetrators of this heinous act to be brought to justice.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio engaged with national security advisors from both India and Pakistan, urging them to keep the lines of communication open and avoid any sort of escalation. The UK called for both India and Pakistan to exercise restraint and engage in direct dialogue to de-escalate the situation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rising tensions between India and Pakistan will be of serious concern for many across Britain. We are engaging urgently with both countries, as well as other international partners, encouraging dialogue, de-escalation and the protection of civilians.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer called the terrorist attack in Kashmir utterly devastating. UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy also called the Pahalgam attack cowardly. Russia expressed deep concern over the intensifying military confrontation and urged both the nations to seek diplomatic solutions. President Vladimir Putin condemned the Pahalgam attack, describing it as a brutal crime with no justification whatsoever. He extended condolences to the victims' families and reaffirmed Russia's commitment to cooperate with India in combating terrorism in all of its forms. In a phone call with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, President Putin expressed full support to India in its fight against terrorism, emphasizing solidarity with the Indian government and people. Russia and India share a long-standing defense and strategic partnership, with India being the largest importer of Russian defense equipment. This relationship has been characterized by extensive military technical cooperation, joint exercises, and collaboration in various defense sectors. While Russia has called for de-escalation and dialogue between India and Pakistan, its condemnation of the Pahalgam attack and support for India's counter-terrorism efforts underscore the depth of the Indo-Russian partnership. On Operation Sindoor, China called for both the countries to act in the interest of the regional peace and stability. Ambassador Ruwan Azar stated, and I'm quoting him, "Terrorists should know there is no place to hide from their heinous crimes against the innocent."
These kind of crimes cannot be accepted, and we have to come together to get the resources that are needed in order to fight these terrorists. They cannot continue intimidating us. We won't accept it. We are not accepting it in Israel. In India, this is not acceptable either. And we are confident in the work of the authorities here. We know that how determined they are. We know how dedicated they are. And I'm sure that together we will have a victory over terrorism.
Several countries, including France, Germany, Japan, and the UAE, urged both nations to exercise restraint and prioritize diplomatic engagement to prevent further escalation. You see, Pakistan condemned these strikes as an act of war, reporting civilian casualties and vowing retaliation. But the thing is that Pakistan's military and affiliated media outlets propagated several unverified claims. Pakistan asserted that it had shot down multiple Indian aircraft, including a Rafale jet. However, India's Press Information Bureau PIB debunked these claims, clarifying that the images circulated were outdated and unrelated to Operation Sindoor. Statements from Pakistani officials suggested the capture of Indian soldiers during the operation. These claims lacked credible evidence and were dismissed by Indian authorities as baseless. Pakistan accused India of targeting civilian areas, including mosques and educational institutions, resulting in civilian casualties. But India has made it clear and refuted all of these allegations, saying that these strikes were precision targeted at terrorist camps with efforts made to avoid any sort of collateral damage. Pro-Pakistan social media accounts circulated misleading images and videos. Videos from unrelated incidents were presented as evidence of India's alleged aggression. Claims of Indian military installations being destroyed were also propagated without any sort of substantiation. Pakistan's attempts to mislead the international community through fabricated claims and misinformation have been systematically debunked. India's Operation Sindoor stands as a testament to its commitment to combating terrorism and ensuring national security. The United Nations has expressed deep concern over the escalation of tensions between India and Pakistan following India's Operation Sindoor. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemned the attack in Pahalgam and said that India and Pakistan should avoid a military confrontation that could easily spin out of control. Following India's launch of Operation Sindoor on 7th of May 2025 in response to the Pahalgam terror attack, several nations and leaders expressed explicit support for India's actions. This support shows India's global partnerships and its stance against terrorism. Israel has consistently stood by India in its fight against terrorism. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemned the Pahalgam attack and affirmed Israel's solidarity with India. Macron also condemned the attack as France has a history of supporting India's counter-terrorism efforts and has engaged in joint military exercises and defense collaborations. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said that no one in the region should have any interest in further escalation. Germany also expressed solidarity on the recent terror attack in India. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni expressed sorrow over the Pahalgam attack, conveying condolences and stating that Italy stands with India in its fight against terrorism. European Union expressed concern over the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan and has called for restraint and dialogue to prevent any sort of further escalation. These international reactions highlight the global community's recognition for India's right to self-defense and its efforts to combat terrorism. After European Union's call for de-escalation after India's Operation Sindoor, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar articulated India's position with clarity and firmness. In his initial response to Operation Sindoor, Jaishankar said, and I'm quoting him, "The world must show zero tolerance for terrorism." This statement shows India's unwavering commitment to combating terrorism and its expectation of global solidarity in this endeavor. Addressing the EU's appeal for restraint, Jaishankar remarked that India is looking for partners and not preachers. India maintained that Operation Sindoor was a targeted response to eliminate terror infrastructure responsible for the Pahalgam attack, and that all the efforts were made to avoid any sort of civilian casualties.